All right, everybody. Thank you so much for attending our Renovis Solar webinar. We really look forward to going over some of the basics of solar with you in general and community solar. I'm going to get a video started here so you can see me. Hey, everybody. My name's Phil Muka, and I've been with Renovis Solar for the last 3 years or so. Started out as a site evaluator and am now in the sales division, giving these presentations and letting people know that you no longer need to have a perfect site at your property to go solar. Own your solar equipment, get the federal and state tax credits on that, and get rid of your electric bill. So we'll get started here. Feel free to type in questions as we go along, but thank you again for joining us. So Renovis Solar was started right in Ithaca, New York in 2003. We are a local company that has done very well. We started with about 5 employees and now have about 65 plus. We are building community solar farms all through the region. And we install a couple hundred or more residential systems as well. So, if you have been looking at your roof or a open space on the ground where you might want to see solar panels on your property, feel free to give us a call. We'd love to take a look at your site. If you have a questionable solar resource at your site, then we actually, can still put together some numbers for you for a community solar farm system. In both cases, our goal is to wipe out your electrical bill and get it down to just the basic service charge, which is about $16 a month or so. So in our last 14 years as a solar company, we've installed thousands of clean energy systems, and we actually built the very first community solar farm system in New York State, which is about 1.5 miles from where I am right now on Trumansburg Road in Ithaca. If you ever came to the office, we'd love to show you that first historic farm as well, which is just down the road. Okay. So we have some pictures here of, other projects that we've done over the past 14 years. What you'll see here is the Tompkins County SPCA. So we work with a lot of local businesses and nonprofits and design, large systems for them to work and mitigate their energy costs. What we have here is the solar farm that I just discussed. That is New York State's very first community solar installation, which was, we put in about 1.5 years ago. Very exciting. As you can see, next to it is a picture of a roof-mounted system that we put in a few years back. And then below that is a system that we put in on the east shore of Seneca Lake at a brewery called Two Goats Brewing. So, the joke is you can actually go there and drink solar-powered beer, which everyone agrees tastes a little bit better than non-solar powered beer. All right, moving on. Just want to talk a little bit about what makes all of this possible, and that is the sun. So, we have about 5 billion years left of abundant power, and the sun is providing all energy on Earth. It's powering the ocean currents, photosynthesis, the water cycle. So all of the energy that we're currently pumping out of the ground in the form of fossil fuels, was once made by solar power. So it makes sense for us to tap into this. Now, some of you may have heard this before, but every hour, enough sunlight hits the planet to supply the entire world's energy needs for a year. So that is significant. That is not just electricity needs either. That's heating, cooling, transportation, everything we do as a species, we can power with the sun. Now, you might say that would need, we'd need to cover half the world with solar panels, but it's actually not true. With our current technology, we would only need to cover about 0.08% of the Earth's land mass, which is represented by this small red square here, to actually power everything that all the energy needs that we have as a species with our current technology, solar panels. So that's not very much, and it's a goal that we can actually realize, and we're well on the way to doing that. Now, in the middle of winter here in New York, you might say, well, I doubt that solar works, but it actually works very, very well. We have a map here that shows the solar resource of the entire United States and Germany for some strange reason. Now, why we have Germany on here is because up until about a year and a half ago, they were the world leader in installed solar capacity. So what this is if Germany can install solar and make it work for millions of their inhabitants, then we can definitely do it here in New York State, because their solar resource is equivalent to some parts of Alaska. Ours, as you can see on the scale here, is much, much better. We have about a 35% better solar resource than Germany has. So we can definitely make this work in New York State, although it doesn't seem like it sometimes in the middle of the winter. We also get about 90% the solar resource of most parts of Florida, although again, it doesn't seem like that. So moving on here, want to talk a bit about solar technology in general, first off. So solar technology is tried and true. We are now dealing with panels and equipment that come with 25-year warranties and production guarantees. So that's what we're using on the farm and on our residential installations. Panels that are guaranteed to lose only about a half a percentage point of their yearly, of their day one output per year for 25 years, which over that period of time puts them at about 85% of their day one power production. So that's pretty incredible. That's about a 15% loss over a quarter century, and that's what's guaranteed. So that is locking in, what this system is going to make for you. If it ever was not producing up to that guarantee, then it's a warranty claim and the panels get replaced. Now, 99% of these products are also recyclable. So, a solar panel is made of 99% glass, aluminum, and silicon, very abundant resources. So, we're not having to dig around for, super rare metals and all of that in their production. Now, beautiful part of solar as well is that there's no moving parts really in the system whatsoever. They just sit there silently producing a guaranteed amount of power for the next 25 years or more. There's solar panels that were installed back in the 70s that are still working today. And with today's technologies being even better, we ostensibly see these panels lasting at least 30 to 40 years. Now, the idea here is that you are purchasing a power plant. So whether you put these panels on your property or you put them on one of our solar farms, you own a small power plant that is making all of the energy that you would have used over the course of that year. Now, you build up that energy as a credit on your electricity bill, which is what reduces it month after month after month to just your basic service charge, which is about 15 or 16 bucks, like I mentioned. Now, solar in general is growing very, very quickly throughout the world. What we have here is a graph that shows the installed solar capacity in the United States from the year 2009 to the year 2015. Huge jumps in installed capacity there. What you see in terms of this orange line, that represents the falling cost of solar over this time period. So as you can see, the cost of solar has fallen pretty incredibly since 2009. Right now, we are seeing a slight uptick in the cost, and recently there was a tariff passed that will probably increase the price of solar in the next few months or so. So it makes right now a really good time to be looking into all of this and potentially making a purchase of a solar system on your home or a community solar farm nearby before prices are really affected by this tariff. So a lot of the largest corporations in the United States are switching to solar and installing thousands and thousands of panels. As much as I'd like to think that Walmart was, very environmentally conscious, it also shows that there is, definitely an economic value to switching to solar if these companies are using it to, to reduce their bottom line costs. So you still have the federal income tax credit for these systems. That is a 30% credit that you are able to use get back on your year-end taxes if you switch to solar. In New York State, we also have a 25% tax that is capped at $5,000. So we're going to get into what those look like exactly in an example coming up in the next few slides. But what it means is that you still have access to basically all of the tax credits that were around. Now, at the end of 2019, that federal tax credit starts to go down and drops every year for about 5 years until it's totally gone. So again, makes right now a really good time to be looking at this. New York State also has a goal of 50% renewables by 2030. So, that means that, at the state level, we live in one of the very, friendliest states for solar and other renewables. So, it probably means that there's going to be a really strong market for, large scale solar and community solar farms and residential solar going forward. So now we'll skip ahead here to, look at what solar can actually do for your life. And things have changed very dramatically over the past couple years. Now, instead of just having solar offsetting your electric bill, you can use it to offset your heating, cooling, and transportation as well, really allowing you to basically become net zero. So what that means is, we are now able to buy electric cars. I have a Chevy Volt myself that I charge, that's charging right outside the office here today. So I drive around primarily on electricity, meaning, I would have a higher electric bill, but I'm offsetting that with solar. When it comes to heating and cooling, there are now technologies available called air source heat pumps or mini splits that allow us to very efficiently heat and cool our homes with electricity, obviously opening up the path to offset that electricity usage with panels, either on your property or on a Renovus solar farm in the area. The law that is on the books right now that allows for all of this is what's called net metering. So what we're actually doing here, and I'll skip to a slide that'll show this, is when we design this system for you, we're looking at how much energy we actually need to make for you on a yearly basis. So, if you have your electricity bill on there somewhere, it should say how many kilowatt hours your household uses per year. We want to look at what you used this past year and make sure that's what you'll use going forward. Once we know that number, then we're going to design a system that is going to, produce in the spring, summer, and fall months more energy than you need. That's represented here on this graph by the green that is up above, the average energy usage for this particular household. Now, as we know, in the winter time in New York State, we do not get as much solar power as we do in the summer and fall. So, during the winter months here, you can see that the solar system is not producing quite as much as you need, but it's okay because the extra production that you banked with your utility in the better months of the year, you get to use to make up for the solar system's lack of production in the worst parts of the year. So that's how it works. I'd love to take any questions about this at the very end as well. Now, let's talk about a little bit how solar works, in terms of, at your home here. So, if we were to install a residential system for you, we would be putting it either on your roof or somewhere in an open area on, in your lawn, on your property. Obviously, the sun hits these solar panels. They produce direct current or DC power. Now, that is not what you're using in your house. So we need to convert that to usable energy, which is AC power, which is what is traveling through the grid outside. And we do that with a device called an inverter. So this inverter, the inverters that we're using come with 25-year guarantees. Now, this inverter swaps that DC power to AC power. And if you are using any appliances right then in your home, as the sun's beating down on the panels, the odds are that you are using the exact electrons that are being generated by your solar panels right there, in your TV, in your refrigerator, and it's reducing right in that moment what you need to import from the utility. So that reduces your bill directly right in that moment. But as I mentioned, in those spring, summer, and fall months, you're making more power than you need. And so that extra power in that moment is being fed back onto the grid via a new meter that we would coordinate to have installed on your home. Now that's called a bidirectional meter that counts the outgoing energy as well as the incoming energy. So your utility can keep track of how much energy you're actually putting back out onto the grid at that point. And that's how you build up a credit on your account to use later on in the year. So that's basically how it works. It's relatively simple. Feel free to ask any questions as well. So very quickly here, if you are looking at a rooftop or ground mounted solar array, what we're going to do is we're going to look at your energy bill, see what you're using on a yearly basis. You would want to tell us if you had any plans to reduce your energy usage or to increase it, maybe with the addition of an electric car or an air source heat pump or something like that. We'll then put together an estimate for you based on how many panels you need and based on what we think we can get on your site. So we'll look at your roof, we'll look at the ground around your property, we'll talk to you about where you would like to actually see these solar panels for the next 25 plus years. And then we're going to construct this estimate, go over it quickly, either in person or on the phone. So at that point, about what this is all going to cost and about what you have coming back to you in the NYSERDA rebate grant and the federal and state tax credit for solar. Now, at that point, you can say, wow, this looks great, or you know what, I'm not sure, this is the year for this. But if things are looking good, then what we would do is order a site evaluation of your property. And we do that with a third-party company that looks at highly detailed satellite imagery. They give us all of the numbers that we need to, number one, submit for your rebate grant, but also number two, to put together your final custom design proposal to tell you exactly how much energy this system is going to make for you. So after that, that whole process takes about 1 week. After that, we would sit down, schedule a time to sit down in person or on the phone to go over these final numbers with you. And along with, every Renovus installation comes our lifetime workmanship guarantee. So, if anything goes wrong with the system that was related to the installation, we are going to come out there and fix that for you throughout its lifetime. So we're talking for the next, 30 to 40 years here. Free of charge to you. We also have that 25-year power production guarantee on your panels, on the 25-year guarantee on your inverter. And, we are typically including consumption monitoring as well, which is an added bonus that allows you to actually see exactly what your home is using in terms of energy on a daily basis. And it graphs your solar system's production over that home usage, so you can see exactly what solar is doing for you and when. Now, if you decide to move forward after we've gone over your final proposal with you, it's a very simple process. You sign your final proposal. We take $1,000 deposit, and then within 90 days, your system will be installed. We start doing all the paperwork, filing for the building permits. We will send out an engineering team to get some final measurements for their installation plan. But you get to basically sit back and not have to worry about much at that point. Your system is in within 90 days, or we start paying your electric bill. So, it all happens relatively quickly. So that being said, want to introduce now community solar, which is really, the main point of this presentation, as it's brand new, or at least, new within the last 2 years in New York State. And it allows for about 80% of folks in the state who didn't have a great site for solar on their property to now go solar. Now, anyone paying an electrical bill can go solar, which is pretty incredible. And, it's revolutionary. So, people that we have on our previous 7 farms were folks that, either didn't have enough room on their site for the amount of panels that they needed. They, didn't have enough, a good shading resource on their site. Their roof was maybe too old for us to install panels on. So basically on our site, you are guaranteed a perfect solar resource. So your panels, you might even need less panels because there's no shading there versus the panels that you would have put on your roof with maybe 15 or 20 or 25% shading at that site. So this number here needs to be corrected because we've actually built the first 7 community solar farms in New York State so far. And we are we're currently building our 8th in NYSEG territory, and we'll be building our first one very soon in National Grid territory. So everything is going very great. And this is about 50% of our, general business at this point. And it's only been 2 years. So pretty cool stuff. Now, very quickly here, we're going to look at how this all works. So, over on the right, you've got your home, you've got, some beautiful trees around it, which mean that, your roof is a bit shaded. You don't have a good open area on your property for your solar panels. So, you need to locate them off-site on our solar farm. Now, this solar farm can be located anywhere within the large utility area that you live. We have a map of this in one of these next slides that we'll take a look at to better understand it. But basically, these panels can exist anywhere in your utility area. Your utility installs a meter at our site. That meter documents the overall amount of power that the panels have put out onto the grid. And we then tell the utility exactly what percentage of the overall panels on that farm you own, which tells them exactly what percentage of the farm's production to apply to your energy bill. It's relatively simple, but again, at the end, I can take questions about this if anyone has them. So right now, we have 7 solar farms in NYSEG Zone C territory, which is this green blob in the middle of the state here where we are. We are, like I mentioned, building our first National Grid solar farm very shortly, which is why we're putting on this presentation today. At the end of this, what we want to do is, if you're interested in getting some numbers and getting an estimate, either for your home or for a solar farm system, we want to match you up with a salesperson here who will go ahead and be very helpful, put together numbers for you and go over them during a quick phone call in the next day or so. But what this means in general is that if you live anywhere within either of these territories and you're a NYSEG or National Grid customer, then you can get solar power at your property no matter what. You can also move anywhere within these areas and, with a simple phone call to us, get your solar credits sent to your new home. Now, this is revolutionary. You cannot do this in any other model besides community solar. Because when you actually put these panels on your home, they're staying there. It doesn't really make much sense at all to sell the home and then take those panels off and bring them with you. So that is one of the big advantages of community solar. Also, again, perfect solar resource out at these solar farms. So no issues with shading whatsoever. Now, you can also sell this system to anyone within this area as well. So let's say that your plans change and you are now moving outside of the state or outside of that utility zone. You can give us a call or you can talk to any neighbors or families and friends and find someone who will be interested in buying the system for a price that you're comfortable selling it for. We would then enter into a new agreement with them. And for the remainder of the term on the farm, which is a 25-year term, so maybe for the next 10 years or 15 years, we would be in a contract with them and out of the initial contract with you. You can also give us a call, and if anyone on your particular farm has expressed interest in buying panels from someone interested in selling them, we can absolutely put you in contact with them as well. So we think that there's going to be a market that develops for these used solar farm systems going forward. So again, we're going to take a look at your electrical bill. That's the first step here. We're going to size this system to cover your needs for the next 25 years. Now this is an upfront investment. So you're actually, putting money out upfront to purchase your solar system, just as if you were to install it on your property. You are also, we have some financing options available through various credit unions and national lenders throughout New York State, who are going to want to work with you and make this very easy. If you needed to go down the financing route, talk to your salesperson about that. They can give you the specific details there. Now, one major difference between community solar and residential solar is that when you install panels on your home, their operation, maintenance, and the insurance on them are your responsibility. So when you install them on our community solar farm, all of that falls onto our shoulders. And so we are carrying a full replacement value insurance policy on your system, on all of the equipment on the farm. We are taking care of all of the operation maintenance as well. So you don't have to worry about anything for the next 25 years. Now, because we are doing all of that at an expense, there is a yearly solar farm fee that we will get into here in just a second. It's based on how large your system is. So the larger the system you need, the slightly higher that solar farm fee will be. But basically, you're paying us once at the beginning of every year to handle everything that could possibly go wrong with your system. Gives you a lot of peace of mind knowing that all of that's on us and not you. All right, so before we get into an actual example here, where you'll see a average electricity bill in New York State and how that's covered with community solar, I want to just point out that there are some other very cool things that we're able to do on these solar farms. Not only are we looking into growing native grasses, which are good for the declining pollinator populations, we're also not using any concrete when we're putting in these panels. So we have a pile driver instead that is driving these galvanized steel piles into the ground. It means that in 25 years, at the end of the farm term, we're able to go out there with the same piece of equipment and very quickly pull those piles out of the ground and leave that large field, just as it was 25 years ago before a few thousand solar panels were installed there. So very low impact, on the land here. Now, as you can see here, we mentioned organic land management. So we have, talked to local sheep farmers to actually, get some herds of sheep out below these panels. They like sitting in the shade and munching the grass. So, there are some really creative ways that we can sustainably, kill two birds with one stone, harvest a lot of solar energy from the property, but also, potentially use it for agriculture as well. So we're always, interested in hearing more ideas about all of that. But now let's get into the numbers for a little bit. So basically, what we're looking at is, an average bill in this part of the world comes to about $100 a month. Now, yours might be less, it might be much more. This represents an average domestic bill with no electrical heating involved. If you were heating with electricity, then that bill is obviously going to be much higher. Now, $84 of this $100 is what you're actually paying for your supply and delivery of your electricity. There are a number of small fees in there and taxes. All of that $84 we can wipe out with panels either on your home or on our community solar farm. Now, like I mentioned, there is a $16 grid fee, maybe $17 or so if you're a National Grid customer. That does not go away when you go solar. So picture your bill, whatever it is now, going down to just the amount of that basic grid fee there, which is, very nice. But taken over the next 25 years with no rise in electricity costs, you will end up paying your utility $30,000 with no rise in the cost of electricity. Now, as we know, the rates of electricity go up at about 2.5% per year. So you will more likely be paying your utility closer to $40,000 over the next 25 years for power. Yikes, that is a lot of energy. So we want to look at what it would take to get rid of that. So to get rid of that $84 per month with a solar farm system, you would need about 24 panels on one of our area farms. Now, the top line cost there comes to $36 rather. You have access to the tax credits on that. So, this is where it gets really interesting. That 30% federal income tax credit comes to $5,320. Now, in the past, we were not mentioning that the New York State tax credit would apply, but after, hearing a bunch of customers getting back to us saying that, their accountant instructed them to go ahead and take that on the community solar farm, we are working it into the overall cost. We have reached out to the state as well. They have not given us a hard no by any means on whether or not, that is available. So because that New York State tax law was written before community solar farms, were a thing, we do not think that it was written to specifically prohibit residential customers, taking the New York State tax credit. All of this tax credit stuff is between you and your accountant or you and your CPA. However, their opinion is the one that matters on all this. So check all these numbers with them. Now, when you factor all of those in, what you're left with is a total upfront solar investment of $7,982. So that means that $17,700 has been reduced by close to $10,000 with those tax credits, and you're only going to end up paying $7,900 or so for this system that's going to produce about $84 per month for you in solar power. Now, as I mentioned, there is that yearly solar farm fee for us to cover the insurance and operation and maintenance, and that is 1.5 cents per watt, or for this system, $122.40 per year. So let's take a look at what this all looks like when we compare it with just sticking with the grid. And I'm just gonna grab some water here. So as you can see, on the left-hand side, what you're looking at is business as usual. That's paying that $100 bill, 84 of which is, the supply and delivery portion that we can get rid of. And you're going to pay NYSEG or National Grid about $40,000 over the next 25 years. That's, generally unavoidable. Now, if you switch to community solar, after you get those tax credits back, you're looking at having only paid $7,900 or so for your system. That gets rid of this $84 per month. So on this side, it's now zero. You still have that monthly grid fee of $16 per month. Can't get rid of that. And then on this side, you have that $122 yearly solar farm fee. So if you factor all of that in and add it up over the next 25 years, you are paying $16,702 versus $39,231 over the same period of time. And that's a savings of about $22,000 or about an 8-year payback, which is not bad whatsoever. So not only can you go solar, do something that's right for the environment and the world, but you're actually going to save a significant amount of money as well. So it's all very exciting. Now, what we have here is an actual customer bill from one of our customers on a previous farm of ours. This is a NYSEG bill, but it's going to look, similar to this on your National Grid bill if you're a National Grid customer. What we have here is their total electricity cost that they would have paid for this particular month. It was going to be $66.66. But down here in the miscellaneous charges section, you'll see CDG generation credit. CDG means community distributed generation, short or long for community solar. And that is a negative $49.46. It's always nice to see negative numbers on our electricity bills. So what that means is that this customer, instead of paying $66 or so this month, paid only that basic service charge of about $16 that month. Like I mentioned, if you're a National Grid customer, it looks the same, except for that basic service charge might be about $17. It's a little bit higher in National Grid territory, but still, that is a significant chunk. And we're talking about this for the next 25 years. So, as you can imagine, that adds up pretty quickly. Now, we have sold thousands of systems over the last 14 years that we've been a company, and we have a great reputation in backing up our customers and going out of our way to help them out. We are the only company that I know of that has a customer happiness department here instead of just a customer service department. So, you can call us at any point with any, questions about your bill, with any questions about your system, and we will gladly put you in contact with someone here at the company in-house who's going to be able to sit down with you or over the phone, answer every question that you possibly have. Now, you're also able to track your system's production, whether you have a system on your house or on the solar farm. You have access to a 24/7 online web portal that will tell you exactly what your system has produced or exactly what the farm has produced, for any period of time that you're interested in seeing. So you're able to follow exactly, what's going on there, which is nice, get some eyes on, this working on a daily basis for you. So we're getting very close to the question and answer section. One last thing that I do want to mention is that probably one of the biggest advances in the solar industry over the past 5 years or so is the fact that banks are now signing on and financing these projects, whether it's residential or community solar farm. So we, very likely, if you're in the Syracuse area, if you're down here in the Ithaca area, we can put you in touch with a local credit union who has, specifically designed loans to make this possible. And what we're really doing with these loans is trying to get it so that, in borrowing money to pay for this solar energy system, you are paying less per month than what the system is saving you. So that loan payment that you have is now replacing that electrical bill that you had, and what you're paying the bank, or paying, down on your solar equipment over the next 10 or 15 years is money that you would have just thrown away by paying NYSEG or National Grid. So best thing about a loan compared to an electrical payment is that a loan goes away at a certain period of time, leaving you with a number of years after that of no electrical bill and no loan payment. So free energy, in essence. An electrical bill, you're always going to keep paying that. That will be around forever. So again, we want to reach out to you and go over all of these numbers, and we can talk about financing options if you had an interest there. But now, last but not least, before we get into the questions and answer section, is we want to talk about what these systems actually do for the environment. So very quickly, that 24 panel example that we went over its lifetime will make about 240,000 kilowatt hours of clean energy. Now that is equivalent to 170,000 pounds of coal not being burned. And those emissions not going into the atmosphere. That's 18,000 gallons of gasoline not being burned as well. Or, the carbon sequestration equivalent of 4,147 tree seedlings grown for 10 years. So, not only can you save money with this, but you can do the right thing, for future generations. And that's why a lot of people, are approaching us and signing up for these systems. So again, we want to thank you so much for attending this webinar. I had a really good time. I look forward to hearing any questions at this point that you might have. But before we do that, you can feel free. We will try to reach out to you within the next day or so if you'd like to go ahead and chat, maybe get those numbers from your electrical bill so that we can very quickly put together an estimate for you. So you knew exactly what it might cost to go solar, either at your home or on one of our solar farms. But at this point, I'm going to open up the question and answer box here, so you can feel free to type any questions in. It looks like we had a question from someone. They said, I'm a renter. Can I still use community solar? The answer is absolutely yes. So, if you are paying an electric bill, that's all it takes to buy a community solar system. If you were to move at any point, either to a new apartment or to an actual home, you call us up and we will actually go ahead and transfer your solar credits to your new location. So community solar opens up that option. So yes. Any other questions at this point at all? All right, well, it looks like we don't have any other questions at this time. Thank you so much for tuning in to this Renovis Solar webinar, everybody. Really look forward to reaching out to you and touching base. But you can always go ahead and visit our website, contact us there at our main office line as well. But I had a great time presenting for all of you, and have a great day, everybody. Thanks.